On a tense May morning, a federal courtroom in New York transformed into the epicenter of global attention as actor Jamie Foxx took the stand to testify in a case involving Sean Diddy Combs, once considered a close friend. Foxx's testimony is believed to hold the potential to shed light on serious allegations swirling around Hollywood's entertainment industry, where questions of power dynamics and financial influence have come under scrutiny in this investigation.
A 20-year friendship shattered in an instant. Jamie Foxx and Diddy's tumultuous fallout. In the ever-evolving landscape of Hollywood, where alliances are forged and broken, with the changing tides of fame, few friendships have stood the test of time, like that of Jamie Foxx and Sean Diddy Combs. Their bond, once emblematic of mutual respect and shared success, has now unraveled in a manner that has left the entertainment industry reeling. What revelations did Jamie Foxx bring to light that left Diddy unable to recover? The magnitude of this betrayal is unparalleled in recent memory. Once upon a time, Jamie Foxx and Sean Diddy Combs were an inseparable duo at exclusive gatherings reserved for the true elite. Nights filled with glittering promises of transformation over clinking glasses, where secrets were traded for silence and fame was built at the cost of one's soul. Yet, in the stark federal courtroom, stripped of stage lights, music, or laughter, Jamie took the witness stand in a cold, gray suit, carrying the one thing Diddy feared most: the truth. No longer the dazzling Jamie Foxx of glamorous roles, no longer the trusted brother.
I know he poisoned Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx reported him to the FBI because of it. I know that's a fact.
So, wait, you're saying that Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx and that's how Jamie Foxx got sick?
Jamie Foxx reported this man to the FBI because of this. It's facts.
Today, he stands as the one tearing down every illusion, and his testimony carries enough weight to ensure Diddy may never see the light of freedom again. What did Jamie witness during those lavish nights of revelry? What drove him to turn against the big brother who once guided him to the pinnacle of fame? And most crucially, is Jamie the critical linchpin in a plot to dismantle the sinful empire Diddy has built over 2 decades? This isn't a movie, this is reality, and you're about to hear revelations never before disclosed. Secrets Hollywood has spent millions to bury for the past 20 years.
I know some will brand me a traitor, but staying silent would make me complicit. For 2 decades, I turned a blind eye, deaf ear, and feigned ignorance because I too reap the rewards of that corrupt system. But today, I choose to tell the truth.
At this point, Jamie Foxx paused, drawing a deep breath, his gaze sweeping across the courtroom before locking onto Diddy. Even now, Diddy stared back, his narrowed eyes blazing with a fierce intensity, as if trying to intimidate Jamie despite the witness stand between them. The charges, human trafficking, extortion, and violence, had already gripped the world's attention. But no one could have predicted that Jamie Foxx, once Diddy's close friend, ally, and brother during their glory days, would be among those to take the stand. As Jamie entered the courtroom, it fell into a hushed stillness. His hands trembled, his eyes were rimmed with red, yet his voice rang with unwavering resolve.
I'm here to unmask the devil hiding in plain sight. I've seen what Diddy has done, not just to me, but to Cassie and countless others.
That statement landed like a stone cast into a still lake, sending ripples of shock through Hollywood. Jamie Foxx, once a radiant figure alongside Diddy at extravagant galas, now stood to denounce the man he once called a friend. What drove him to turn his back? What compelled a star like Jamie, with a storied career, to risk everything for the sake of truth? To understand, we must rewind to 2004.
Didn't want you to see me like that, man. You know, I want you to see me laughing, having a good time, partying, cracking a joke, doing a movie, television show. I didn't want you to see me with now, you know, by being quiet, sometimes things, you know, get out of hand. People saying what I got. Some people said I was blind, but as you can see, the eyes are working. Eyes are working just fine. And then, you know, somebody was talking about I'm cloned. Well, check this out. Just kidding. not clone, man, but I'm here on earth because of some great people. I'm here on earth because of God, man.
The moment Jamie stepped into Diddy's whirlwind and began to see that the parties millions dreamed of attending were, in reality, a gateway to hell. In 2004, Jamie Foxx stood at the pinnacle of fame. His electrifying performance in Ray didn't just cement him as a Hollywood star, it made him a symbol of raw talent and relentless ambition. Yet beneath the shimmering spotlight, Jamie found himself ensnared in the shadowy vortex of Sean Diddy Combs' world, a realm of lavish parties, unchecked power, and sinister crimes, cloaked in glitz and glamour. Today, in this historic courtroom, Jamie Foxx steps forward, carrying the weight of emotional scars and armed with razor-sharp evidence to unmask the true face of Diddy. Not merely a music mogul, but a predator in human guise, a figure who has shattered countless lives, including his own. Jamie Foxx was an indispensable guest at Diddy's infamous White Party and freak-off extravaganzas, events that pulsed with decadence and danger. Jamie's voice trembled as he testified in court, his memories raw and vivid. Being invited by Diddy was the ultimate dream for anyone, a golden ticket to Hollywood's elite inner circle. Back then, Jamie felt a surge of pride, as if he had scaled the very summit of his career. But within just 6 months, that dream twisted into a harrowing nightmare. At one of Diddy's notorious freak-off parties, held on the second floor of his sprawling mansion, Jamie and Cassie Ventura, Diddy's girlfriend at the time, were ushered into a clandestine room. Gone were the glittering lights and the polished laughter of the elite. In their place loomed a grim darkness, violence, drugs, young women coerced into submission, and pills that stripped away any grip on reality. "I saw Cassie being brutally beaten by Diddy," Jamie choked out, his voice thick with emotion. "He forced her to be with others, even me. I refused, but Cassie's eyes, they were pleading, begging me to save her. I'll never forget that look." A wave of revulsion surged through Jamie. He tried to blend in, but each party plunged him deeper into the depravity of the entertainment world. As Jamie recounted these harrowing experiences, the courtroom remained silent, the weight of his words hanging heavily in the air. The once celebritied bond between two titans of the industry had unraveled, revealing a tapestry of manipulation, abuse, and betrayal. The breaking point struck like a thunderclap the moment Jamie saw Diddy, once again, brutally assaulting Cassie, using violence like a weapon to assert his unshakable control. This wasn't a one-off. It was repeated, systematic, and terrifying. For Jamie, it was the last straw. He had witnessed too much, tolerated too long. No longer able to ignore the monster behind the mask, he stepped forward, confronting Diddy head-on. His voice was unwavering, filled with righteous fury. "I'm done with this. This isn't my world." But Diddy didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned in with a chilling smile, his voice low and menacing. "You think you can just walk away like that?" he hissed. "You'll pay for it." Jamie, exhausted and disgusted, shrugged it off. In his mind, it was nothing more than an empty threat, a petty intimidation tactic. He had no idea just how dark and far-reaching that warning truly was. By the end of 2004, Jamie's world was swallowed in shadows. Esther Marie Talley, his grandmother, his protector, the soul who raised him, shaped him, believed in him, passed away unexpectedly. She wasn't just family, she was his spiritual anchor, the woman who taught him resilience, humility, and the strength to dream, even when the world seemed indifferent. In a New York courtroom, as he recounted her memory, Jamie's voice trembled. His eyes, glossy with heartbreak, told the story before he spoke. "She was everything to me," he whispered. "She was my light, the one who made me who I am." Grief-stricken and hollow, Jamie, desperate for comfort, turned to the one person he thought could understand, Diddy. They had history, Jamie thought, perhaps foolishly, that friendship remained. But during a drunken exchange, Diddy revealed his true face. With a cruel, slurred chuckle, he said, "You think your grandma died of natural causes? You really thought you could just walk away from me that easily? Jamie froze. Time collapsed. Everything inside him shattered in that instant. The blood in his veins turned to fire. Without thinking, driven by fury and disbelief, Jamie lunged at Diddy and punched him hard across the face, screaming, "My grandmother was innocent. Why would you do this?" But Diddy didn't react with guilt or fear. He just sneered, cold and unbothered. That moment etched itself into Jamie's soul. He finally saw Diddy, not as a celebrity, not as an old friend, but as a dangerous tyrant, someone who reveled in destruction, who thrived on fear and obedience. It was evil, pure and simple. From that day on, Jamie knew he couldn't pretend anymore. He couldn't stay silent. Alongside Cassie, who had endured years of emotional and physical torment, Jamie began a secret crusade, a mission of risk, purpose, and conscience. They collected everything: recordings, texts, whispered memories from those grotesque freak-off parties. Every bit of darkness was stored like ammunition. Jamie knew the stakes. He wasn't just going against a man, he was facing a machine. Diddy was entrenched in an empire that protected him at all costs. But Jamie's pain, the loss of his grandmother, the knowledge of what Cassie had suffered, hardened him. No longer a grieving grandson, he became a quiet soldier in a silent war, prepared to lose everything if it meant unmasking the truth. By 2016, the moment for action had come. Jamie and Cassie had gathered enough evidence to deal a major blow. They knew it was risky. Going public wasn't just dangerous, it was potentially suicidal. Diddy's influence stretched deep into the entertainment world, supported by powerful, faceless allies. But they moved forward, driven by truth and haunted by what they had seen. Together, they released a devastating video. The footage was unmistakable. Diddy, caught on camera, savagely assaulting Cassie in the hallway of a luxurious hotel. His face twisted with rage, his hands a blur of violence. No words could justify what the world now saw with their own eyes. In Cassie's image, battered, vulnerable, silent, shattered the illusion of Diddy's polished public persona. Jamie took the stand, his voice quaking under the weight of years of horror. He spoke with raw honesty, each sentence a scar made audible, but they underestimated just how powerful the machine truly was. Within 30 minutes of the video going live, it disappeared, wiped clean, as if it had never existed. Social media, once a platform for truth and activism, fell silent. Posts vanished. Accounts were throttled. The internet, supposed to be the great equalizer, became just another tool used to silence the voices of the abused and still. Jamie and Cassie pressed on, because now the world had seen a glimpse of the truth. In the hours following the video release, the digital world turned eerily silent. Accounts that dared to share the footage were swiftly locked. Supporters who spoke out found their voices suppressed, drowned in an orchestrated, chilling hush. What was meant to be a spark for justice was smothered almost instantly.
Cassie told the jury that Diddy forced her into drug-fueled sex acts with male escorts while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, ecstasy, cocaine, and caffeine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy.
The lawsuit that Cassie courageously filed, an act of bravery aimed at cracking the dam wide open, was extinguished with brutal precision. Within less than 24 hours, it was settled behind closed doors. The terms of the settlement were buried in secrecy, cloaked in cold legal language, and bound by the overwhelming force of financial coercion. Cassie, cornered by pressure too immense to resist, was forced to back down. In the courtroom, Jamie sat with his head bowed, the weight of injustice pressing down on him. His voice, once defiant, barely rose above a whisper, a bitter murmur of helplessness. But surrender was not in their nature. Despite this devastating setback, Jamie and Cassie refused to retreat. They regrouped, steeled their resolve, and moved deeper into the shadows. Over the next 7 years, their efforts intensified, Working tirelessly and methodically, they began collecting evidence so damning it could shake the foundations of the industry itself. They unearthed records detailing human trafficking rings, shipments of illegal drugs and firearms, trails of bribes sent to powerful figures to keep the truth hidden, fake charities funneling money into offshore accounts, and a maze of shell companies used to launder vast sums. Every step they took was dangerous. Every document gathered, every whisper recorded, brought them closer to a line that, once crossed, could not be uncrossed. They knew full well that they weren't just playing with fire, they were walking straight through it. And yet they pressed forward. Jamie, recounting this perilous journey in court, spoke not with rage alone, but with something even more powerful: conviction. "We knew Diddy could buy the world," he told the jury, his voice echoing across the silent chamber. "But we believed that the truth, however fragile, had a strength all its own." By 2023, nearly 2 decades after Jamie's life had been upended by the darkness he once tried to escape, he and Cassie resolved to make their final move. This time, they were prepared to reveal everything. They had mountains of evidence, pages of documentation, confidential files, voice recordings, and footage exposing crimes too grotesque to imagine. Beatings, trafficking operations, and money trails stained with corruption. The time had come. "We knew exactly who we were going up against," Jamie said in court, his eyes locked with the jury, filled with a quiet yet fiery resolve. He had wealth, he had protection, he had reach. But we had the truth, and we were ready to let it speak. They moved carefully, like soldiers navigating a war zone. The evidence they had could not only take down Diddy, but could unravel the vast criminal syndicate behind him. But what they hadn't accounted for was just how far ahead Diddy had been playing. Like a predator waiting patiently, Diddy had watched their every move. He had known, for months, maybe years, that Jamie and Cassie were building a case. Rather than strike early, he chose to watch them climb, let them believe they were winning, let them hope. It amused him. To Diddy, it was a scripted tragedy and he was the director. He waited until the final act to deliver his cruelest twist. The night before Jamie and Cassie were to meet with a trusted legal team to finalize their explosive disclosure, there was a knock at Jamie's door. Standing on the other side were 2 of Diddy's men, masked as collaborators, pitching a new music project. Their charm was disarming, their smiles rehearsed, but Jamie, hardened by years of deception and betrayal, wasn't easily fooled. He had learned to question everything, especially kindness from monsters. Sewn discreetly into one of his shirt buttons was a tiny camera, part of a high-tech recording device with cloud backup. The plan was simple: capture any unusual interaction and store it off-site instantly. As Jamie opened the door, the hidden lens blinked to life, quietly recording the moment. But before he could speak or react, everything changed in an instant. One of Diddy's men lunged forward and shoved a black cloth sack violently over Jamie's head, yanking it tight. At the same time, another thug brought down a steel baton onto the back of Jamie's neck with bone-cracking force. Jamie collapsed, the world spinning into darkness. Jamie collapsed. The world around him vanished into a cold, consuming void. His consciousness slipped away, swallowed by the blackness. He was dragged, limp and unresisting, to an abandoned warehouse on the city's desolate outskirts. It was a place long forgotten, cloaked in silence, saturated with mold, and thick with the suffocating stench of death. Inside, beneath flickering lights and the hum of decay, Diddy stood waiting. His eyes glittered, not with remorse, but with a predator's satisfaction, knowing his trap had snapped shut perfectly. The echo of Diddy's footsteps was slow and deliberate, each step like the toll of a funeral bell. He circled Jamie, who was now groggily regaining partial awareness, blood trickling from his mouth. "You dared to betray me, Jamie," Diddy growled, his voice oozing contempt. There was no pretense now, only raw menace. "You and Cassie, do you really think you can bring me down?" Do you think truth matters when I control the game? Then came the beating. Diddy unleashed a savage assault, raining down punches and kicks, each blow intended not just to hurt, but to break Jamie's will. Bones cracked under the weight of fists, blood spilled. Still, Jamie didn't scream. His silence, his refusal to beg, only seemed to enrage Diddy further. Then, with sadistic pride, Diddy pulled a small, silver pill bottle from his pocket. Holding it up like a twisted trophy, he sneered. "Neurotoxin X," he said, almost in admiration. "My latest creation, straight from my lab, triggers brain hemorrhages, strokes, kills without a trace. You, Jamie, will be the very first test subject." As he spoke, one of his henchmen pried open Jamie's mouth. Diddy forced the capsule inside and held his jaw shut until he swallowed. A small hidden camera, still recording from Jamie's jacket, captured the entire harrowing exchange. Diddy leaned close, whispered coldly, "Sleep tight, Jamie." Moments later, Jamie's body convulsed violently. The toxin surged through his veins, spiking his blood pressure and rupturing tiny vessels in his brain. Diddy and his crew casually staged the scene, placing a broken whiskey bottle near his hand, smearing alcohol on his breath, crafting a narrative of a drunken collapse, an unfortunate accident. They walked away, confident Jamie would never open his eyes again, but fate had other plans. Hours later, a passing truck driver, drawn by the warehouse's broken gate and the flicker of movement, discovered Jamie's body. Paramedics rushed him to a trauma center, and doctors worked feverishly to stabilize him. Emergency surgery relieved the pressure in his skull. Against the odds, Jamie survived, but barely. He fell into a deep coma, his life dangling by a thread. Initially, doctors diagnosed the episode as a stress-induced stroke. The assault was dismissed as a random robbery. Jamie's jacket with the hidden camera remained behind, forgotten in the warehouse. But the camera had done its job. The footage had already been uploaded to a secure cloud drive, preserving the damning evidence. When news reached Diddy that Jamie had survived, panic struck. Desperate to erase his mistake, Diddy dispatched an assassin, posing as a nurse to the hospital. The killer slipped a fresh dose of neurotoxin X into Jamie's IV bag, hoping to finish the job quietly, making it seem like a complication from the original trauma. But even in his semi-conscious haze, Jamie's instincts kicked in. Something felt wrong. The nurse's gaze, the way she lingered by the IV. He feigned unconsciousness, then discreetly yanked the IV line free and slammed the emergency button. The nurse fled the room before security arrived, but hospital cameras caught her escape. Though she refused to speak and named no names, the operation clearly bore Diddy's fingerprints. Once conscious, Jamie began piecing together the horror. The warehouse, the pill, the voice, the pain. He reached out to Cassie, who was still in hiding, constantly on the move to escape Diddy's reach. Cassie handed over damning proof. A recording of Diddy discussing neurotoxin X with a chemist and financial documents linking shell companies to illegal operations. Determined to bring the truth into the light, Jamie hired private investigator Alex Carter, a specialist in toxicology and digital forensics. Jamie revealed the hidden camera and explained what had happened. Carter launched into action. He tracked down the warehouse, recovered Jamie's jacket, and retrieved the footage, grainy but unmistakable. Diddy's voice. His threats. The moment he forced the pill into Jamie's mouth. Further analysis of Jamie's hair showed clear traces of neurotoxin X's chemical metabolite. The hospital syringe was tested too, contaminated with the same deadly substance. Even the warehouse fabric revealed something shockingly unique. The scent compound of Diddy's exclusive custom-blended cologne. A final breakthrough came from a witness, a night worker at a nearby freight yard, who remembered seeing a sleek black SUV speeding away from the warehouse that night. The description matched Diddy's private vehicle. Now the puzzle was no longer scattered, the pieces were aligning. Jamie Foxx remembered vividly a moment from years ago, a time when Diddy had approached him with what appeared to be a philanthropic opportunity. It was a charity, Diddy claimed, aimed at empowering underprivileged youth. But something about the paperwork didn't sit right. Jamie took a closer look and uncovered irregularities in the financials, misreported funds, misaligned expenses, and suspicious transfers to offshore accounts. He declined to get involved. That moment, as he would later come to realize, marked him. That quiet refusal had put him in Diddy's crosshairs. Because in Diddy's world, no one walked away without consequences, especially not someone who might one day expose the machinery behind his criminal empire. With Cassie and private investigator Alex Carter by his side, Jamie followed the money trail. Their investigation led them to a shell company, an unassuming corporate facade that controlled the secret laboratory producing the lethal compound neurotoxin X. The evidence was mounting, and it was damning now. Standing in the courtroom under the blinding lights of truth and scrutiny, Jamie Foxx was no longer a victim. He was a warrior, armed with 19 years of collected proof, hidden camera footage, Cassie's haunting audio recordings, corporate documents, lab reports, and testimonies, all pointing to one terrifying conclusion. Diddy wasn't just an abuser or a tyrant. He was the head of a vast and calculated criminal syndicate. What Jamie revealed wasn't just about personal vengeance. It was about systemic corruption. The courtroom gasped as document after document exposed a rot that ran deep. Human trafficking disguised through business fronts, drug smuggling networks facilitated via bribed border agents, and elaborate money laundering operations masked behind fake charities. Diddy had built a kingdom of darkness, and many had helped him maintain it. Diddy's legal team went into damage control, hurling accusations at Jamie, attempting to frame him as a bitter celebrity chasing relevance. They painted Cassie as unstable and unreliable, but the evidence stood tall, unflinching and undeniable. Every claim Jamie made was backed by verifiable proof. The footage, the forensic reports, the traced shell companies, the scent of guilt lingered heavily in the courtroom. Diddy himself sat cold and still, his expression unreadable, but the menace in his eyes as he watched Jamie testify was palpable. Silent, threatening. As if even now, he believed his empire would shield him, but the court of public opinion had already shifted. Outside the courthouse, the world was watching and reacting. Social media platforms erupted in a firestorm of support. Hashtags like Justice for Victims, Diddy Exposed, and We Stand with Jamie trended globally. Millions rallied around Jamie and Cassie, their voices merging into a tidal wave that demanded accountability. Yet as powerful as this moment was, the implications stretched far beyond one man. This case forced an uncomfortable reckoning. How many others like Diddy were hiding in plain sight, protected by wealth, fame, and silence? How long had the entertainment industry enabled this kind of behavior, dismissing whispers and burying evidence for profit and convenience? Victims like Cassie, who had spent years suffering in silence, were finally being heard. But this was also a moment of judgment for those who had turned a blind eye. Managers, agents, executives, and influencers who had seen the signs and said nothing. Silence, after all, can be complicity. The fallout could reshape Hollywood itself, pulling back the glamorous curtain to reveal the predatory structures operating behind it. And in the center of this cultural quake stood Jamie Foxx, not as a star, but as a survivor and a symbol. His story wasn't just about pain, it was about courage. His voice, once silenced by fear and grief, now echoed through the halls of justice, a reminder that truth, no matter how deeply buried, has the power to rise. As Jamie stepped down from the witness stand, tears streaked down his cheeks, not just from pain, but from the release of years of suppressed anguish. Yet in those tear-streaked eyes, there was something else, a flicker of hope. He hadn't just fought for himself. He had fought for Cassie, For every silenced victim, for the children unknowingly touched by these crimes, and for the future of an industry long overdue for change. But the battle is far from over. The network shielding Diddy still casts long shadows. More secrets lie beneath the surface, waiting. This trial may be the spark, but it will take a storm of voices to burn down what has protected predators for decades. Will justice prevail? Will the voices of Jamie and Cassie ignite a new era of accountability? Or will the machine of power and wealth snuff out the truth once again? If you believe in justice, if you believe in exposing the truth, then join us. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a single revelation. We're uncovering Hollywood's darkest corners, one truth at a time. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will be next to speak out? How can we protect the next generation from predators and power?